I woke up in a good mood this morning, and it's been ruined now that I'm seeing my greasy hair. But I woke up in a good mood this morning, and I was thinking about how when the climate of optimism is created, it feels like sustained hope, but sometimes it also just feels like having perspective and not taking everything so seriously. And by taking something seriously, I don't mean that you don't give things their proper due attention, but rather that you're able to see how all of your concerns fit into like this tapestry of a million other concerns of yours and other people's. And I was thinking about this, I was thinking that when you have that perspective, often life starts to feel like something you can take with more grace, something you can take with a more positive attitude. You have a good humored attitude towards life, and you can kind of see how the absurd nature of existence is kind of comical. I found myself laughing a lot this morning, laughing at jokes from the past, jokes I came up with in the present, just joshing around with myself. I had a good sort of morning in that way, and I was thinking about the sense of humor. I was thinking about how this sense of humor and this perspective has allowed me to feel very much powerful, but at the same time with some humility, powerful humility. So there's agency, but it feels a lot like renunciation, just like I feel more in control by being out of control. What I mean by this is that when I think about my attitude towards the guy I was seeing, the world felt sort of shrunk, right? I would sit in this bed and I'd think and think and think, and I had started talking to my friends about him, even though in the beginning I wasn't really talking to my friends about him. And I was thinking and thinking. I was thinking in my diary, thinking, while I talked to my laptop, I was thinking and thinking and strategizing and trying to understand and trying to reimagine. And it seemed like so like discouraging, because when someone's interested in you and you feel reassured in their affections, you maybe don't strategize and imagine that much in such a negative way. You don't ruminate, I don't think, and you don't feel so deprived of security. But I was just thinking, like, maybe he could just be a fun little story. I was walking to collect my chicken wrap and halloumi fries and can of Coke. The Coke was at home. As I was going to collect these things, I was walking to the gates. I thought about how a few months ago it was winter, like very cold winter, and the sun wasn't out in the wonderful, warm, merciful slices that it is right now. And I would be walking to his car, and I would be kind of like very tightened up and severe, like my everything was coiled into this like one little ball that I was trying to like keep intact all the time, to make sure I was presenting as a very serious candidate for his romantic affections. But today I was walking towards there, and I thought about how perhaps that was just one part of like life. That was just one term. It doesn't have to be every term. I mean, in first term, as I was walking towards my student accommodation, I thought to myself that every time I walk towards my accommodation, I look at the gate and the light and the windows and how the building looks against the night sky. I'm always thinking about the guy I'm seeing and how he would view that building if I let him come over one day. I thought about how this was supposed to be the architecture for me. This is supposed to be my personal monument. This is supposed to be part of my personal history, and yet I'm thinking about the sky. So I made a conscious effort to like not think about it in that way, and to start thinking of it as my home instead of like one of the set pieces whereby we have one of our romantic escapades. And same goes for this entire building block. Like as I'm walking out of it to go to his car, as I was last term, it is. It was like it was a new chapter. It felt very new. And despite the fact that there have been two guys now, and there have been all sorts of other interesting things in between, and friends and experiences, I have still felt like I just moved here last week. And I think that this sort of attitude of perspective is good, because I'm hopeful about living on college campus next year, and I think that'll be really fun. And I'm thinking that perhaps the colors will look different. I have entirety of June where I have no exams or anything. And I think that's exciting. I think there's art I want to make, and I think I just want to do things. So yeah, my point is perspective is important, and I've seen a lot of photographs that have appealed to me. I think about like the buildings in Dublin or Edinburgh. I've been to Edinburgh now, wasn't too impressed, but Dublin I'm still impressed by, even though I haven't been there. Perhaps that's partly why I'm still so impressed. And I had a picture of one of these houses, this building block with the lights on, either Dublin or France or Spain or Italy or someplace, and seeing those lights on, and it was an afternoon time, so the sky was like light blue. I was thinking dark blue almost, and I was thinking about purplish rather, and I was thinking about how all those lights, there are different people who have different meaningful lives inside each building block. And I know I could think that as well, looking at building blocks where I'm from, but because I'm so familiar with what buildings look like and what people act like, I think their lives couldn't be that wildly different. And perhaps the same is the case for this building block with all these little lights on. But the fact that they perhaps consume culture similar to myself, they perhaps aspire after the same things, they are aware of their mortality in the same sort of language I can articulate. And I don't mean just English in that respect. I mean the sort of words they can turn to, like ennui, monotony, death, things like that. Like there's a similar vernacular. So yeah, of course, all humans have all experiences, and perhaps there's an element of colonialism to like valuing the Dublinites over the Karachiotes, but that's how I think. That's what I'm thinking right now. And I feel that like whenever I see these buildings, they really inspire me. That was my wallpaper for a while. I had the paintings of Rothko for a while as a wallpaper too. And Rothko, I think, is a similar example of what I mean by perspective. Rothko's paintings have been described like he wanted his paintings to feel like a presence, that you can feel the painting almost like the sun on your back. You can feel its presence. And I do think he achieves that. I've never like stood in front of a Rothko painting and like turned my back to it, but I can totally imagine what that's like. Some canvases do have such like concentration of color, and it's all like so blankly there, and so vibrant that you do feel like it's its aura, like it emanates like a heat, and that's another example of perspective when I think you're able to see that there's presence behind you, there are options for you, that life isn't over. Sometimes life can feel so boring, and I know I haven't done that many exciting things. Like, a lot of the exciting things that I couldn't believe first term me like would be excited to know I'd do, like going, to different cities in England, kissing and stuff like that, which you would find very exciting. Like a part of it's like, yeah, it's just chill. It's like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. It just feels like an adventure because I haven't had those like traveling experiences before. But at the same time, I think that there are all sorts of avenues open to us as human beings. And perspective is the realization that those avenues are open and that we can create avenues at any time. It is that choice made to choose optimism over despair, cynicism, and fatalism. And I think that when you allow yourself to see that you are living in a single window out of like millions, perhaps, I think that makes all the difference.